Welcome back to the second tutorial on determining the tone of Thai words from the original spelling. And in the previous tutorial we looked at words with tone marks, but not all Thai words have tone marks, but they do all have tones. And so for those words without tone marks we need a separate set of rules, and here are the rules. And as you can see, the class of the initial consonant is still very important. But rather than looking at a tone mark, which we haven't got, we need to first determine whether the syllable is live or dead. And if it's dead, we need to determine whether the vowel is long or short. So I'll go over how we do that, and then I'll go through some sample words to give you some practice. When I was going over the vowels in the previous tutorials, I mentioned that for every vowel inside there's a short and a long version. So we've got the long ah and the short ah, the long e and the short it, the long oo and the short u. And you don't really need to remember these because it should be obvious. You know, if you see an it vowel, you know it's short because it is short. And if you see an E vowel, you know it's long. If you can't remember, here's a summary, but really they are quite easy to remember. With the tones, we're actually working out the tone of the syllable. So if a word just has one syllable, obviously the tone of the word and the tone of the syllable are the same. But then it might be a case that a word has multiple syllables and the syllables within that word have different tones. So to determine the tone of a syllable with a word that doesn't have tone marks, one of the things we need to determine is whether the syllable is live or dead. So here are the basic rules. So with a live syllable, it ends with a long vowel or an M, N or NG sound, or the short vowels I or ow. And with a dead syllable, it ends with a short vowel or a P, T or K sound. Now, the way I do this, I think it's right, it seems to work for me, is I try to determine whether I can continue voicing the syllable. And if I can, that means it's a live syllable. If I can't, it's a dead syllable. I'm not an expert on linguistics, but this explanation for dead syllables, I believe, is what's known as a glottal stop. But when you finish the sound, something closes and then you can't voice the sound anymore. So for example, the Thai word 10, sip, ends with a P sound. So if I say sip and then try to continue voicing it, I can't. Sip, and it just stops. The Thai word for one, nung, ends with an NG sound. And if I try to continue voicing it, I can. So nung, that sound can go on, so that's live. It's the same with short and long vowels. For example, some words will end in Thai with a short u. Like du means fierce. So if I try to say that and continue voicing it, du, I can't. It just closes. I can't continue voicing it. If I use a long vowel, and like the words to watch, to look, do, I can continue voicing it. So that's a long vowel and a live syllable. Okay, so live syllables end with long vowels or M, N, NG sounds, or short I and ow. And the dead syllables end with a short vowel or PTK sounds that you can't continue voicing. Before I go through the examples, I need to explain something else about Thai. and I just hope this isn't too confusing. I'm going to look up one word and try to explain what I mean. This word here, it's hoheep, the H consonant, moma, M consonant, and then the long sara u. It means pig in Thai. And it makes a basic like M-O-O moo sound, and it's got a rising tone. It's like moo. Now, if I didn't know the correct spelling and I was just asked to try to write this word correctly, I would use a moma initial consonant and then the long oo to get that moo sound. And because it's a rising tone, I'll just add the fourth tone mark, the mai jatawa. If you can remember from the last tutorial, any word that uses that tone mark, regardless of the class of the initial consonant, will have a rising tone. So this word makes the sound moo, but that's incorrect. The way Thais write it is this way, with there's two initial consonants, like an H and an M. And normally, if you see a word with two initial consonants, it could be a consonant cluster, but these are not a consonant cluster. And sometimes you need to insert like an unwritten vowel in between, but that's not the case here either. This whole heap here, which is higher class, is only here for tone purposes. It doesn't make any sound at all. So the initial consonant sound of this word uses this second consonant, the M consonant. But because this whole heap is here, it changes the tone rules. If it wasn't here, the initial consonant class of this word will be low with a live syllable, and that will mean a mid-tone. However, because this whole heap is here, it makes the initial consonant class of this word high. And a high class initial consonant and that live syllable gives a rising tone. So it's a bit confusing, but this whole heap is just there for tone purposes. It doesn't make any sound. This sign amused me slightly, and it demonstrates what I was saying about many Thais not really having a deep understanding of the written language. Obviously they can speak Thai, they can write Thai, they can read Thai. But if they had sort of a deep understanding, they wouldn't have done what they've done here. So this sign is at a restaurant, it's for tourists, and the bottom two dishes are fine. They've translated what they are into English, so tourists understand that. Now the top one, they've just transliterated a Thai dish. And what's the point? Because that won't mean anything to tourists. What it's supposed to say is cow, and it's like rice, kaprao, which are basil leaves, and moo. Literally that's pig, but it's supposed to mean pork. Now it just explains that with the Thai spelling of pork, they put in that whole heap, that H consonant. It's just there for tone purposes. It makes no sound at all. So what is the point of putting an H into a transliteration? And this is the thing about transliteration, that there's this sort of fixed system where one character in Thai will equal a character in English. And they do it without thinking. So because there's a whole heap in moo, they just write an H in English. And it's the same with what I was saying about consonants changing sounds depending on whether they're initial or final consonants. The transliteration system doesn't take that into account. So with the like the Thai S consonants, as final consonants, they make a T sound. With the D consonants, as a final consonant, they make an unreleased T sound as well. But transliteration just doesn't take that into account. It just makes no sense at all. Here are a few examples I'll go through with you. But it'd be a good idea just to sort of stop the video and make sure that you can follow this yourself. First word, salt. Saucer and dodek, which makes an unreleased T sound as a final consonant. there's no written vowel, so we need to add a short O. Saucer is high class. It's a dead syllable because it ends with a T sound. We can't continue voicing it. And that vowel that we had to add is short. And if we look at the rules for high class, dead syllable, short vowel, we get low tone. So it means fresh. The second word is fairly similar, but the initial consonant is the more ma, which is a low class initial consonant. So if we go back to the tone rules and we look for a low class, dead syllable, short vowel, we get a higher tone. Mod, and that means ant in Thai. Third example, we've got the kor kai initial consonant, which is high class. Then we've got the long R vowel and the Y consonant, yor yag. And those two together make a sort of long I sound. And you can continue voicing that, so it's a live syllable. So high class and live syllable makes a rising tone. So when we say that, we need to sort of start off quite low and then try to go up at the end. Kai, and that means to sell. With the next example, it's similar to the pig example that I gave, where the word mu starts with an M sound, but the actual initial consonant is the whole heap, and that's to give the word a high class initial consonant. And Thais do that with a few other consonants as well. So this word, which has a low tone, yag, it's when you want to do something. You know, yag by Krung Thep, you want to go to Bangkok. And the actual sound of the initial sound of that word is the Y, the yor yag. But the actual initial consonant is this or ang, and it doesn't make any sound again. And if we didn't have that, then the initial consonant will be the yor yag, which is low class. But to get the low tone that we want, it needs to start with a mid-class initial consonant. So we put this consonant at the front. That gives the word a mid-class initial consonant, but it doesn't actually make any sound. So for the tone rules, we use this consonant, mid-class. It's a dead syllable because it ends with the gorgai, the unreleased K sound, and it's got a long vowel, that's sara-a. And if we look at the tone rules for mid-class, dead syllable, long vowel, we get a low tone, yag. This word here means rubber in Thai, yan. And it starts with the yor yak Y consonant. There's no or ang in front of it. So the initial consonant is low class. It's got a long vowel and it ends with the ngongu ng sound. And we can continue voicing that, yang. So it has a live syllable. So the tone rule for low class initial consonant, live syllable is mid-tone, yang. I'm not sure if you can hear it in the video, but a big storm has just arrived. There's very strong winds and heavy rain outside. It's beating against the window. So if you do hear some strange noises, that's what it is. And our next example is fairly similar, but the final consonant on this word is the gorgai, which makes an unreleased K sound. It's got a falling tone, and this word means difficult in Thai. So yor yak is a low class initial consonant. Because of that gorgai final consonant, it's a dead syllable, but we've got the long sara-a vowel. So those three things give the word a falling tone. Yeah. You know, if you want to say that something's difficult to do, you start off with that, a fairly high tone, and it howls off at the end. Yeah. This is the Thai word to speak or to talk. It has a falling tone. Poor. So it's got the por pan initial consonant, which is low class. It ends with dordek, which makes none of these T sounds, which you can't continue voicing. So that's a dead syllable. And this sara oo is a long vowel. It's not an o, it's an oo. So low class initial consonant, a dead syllable because of the dordek at the end, and a long vowel, that's a falling tone. And one more, this is the Thai word for the number 10. So sura is the initial consonant, one of the S consonants. Above that we've got the short sara I, like an English I. And then the final consonant is a bo by mai, which makes a P sound as a final consonant. So it's a high class initial consonant. Then we've got a dead syllable because that makes that bo by mai as a final consonant makes a P sound, which is like a glottal stop, so you can't continue voicing it. And that sara I is just a short vowel. So if we look at the tone rules for high class initial consonant, dead syllable, short vowel, we get a low tone, sit. As ever, thank you for watching, liking and subscribing. If you have any comments, questions or other feedback, please leave them below, and more videos soon.